all the hot, sexy books about church planting right now, they all lie. I don't know if you know that. You're not going to be a Mark Driscoll, okay? It's not going to happen for you. If you want to impact for the kingdom of God, you go into church planting because you want to boldly go where no man has gone before. And if that's your heart, then you're sharing the heartbeat of the Apostle Paul. And you're saying, I want to go out there and I want to impact. I was just sitting in an interview right before this with a potential church planter for Newbreed. That's what I work for. By the way, this is the ugly sign. Okay, it helps give you a mental picture, but look at my face. Come on, anything that detracts a little bit away from the face is probably a good thing. So there's my ugly detractor right there. But basically, what we're doing is we're meeting with guys, and I met with a guy this morning, and he basically said, I don't want to start a church with a bunch of Christians. Here's church planting, how it goes, right? I want to start a church, but no one will give me one. Okay? I want to pastor a church, but no one will give me a mega church. So I think, well, maybe church planting. Maybe that's the secret to success for me in ministry. So I'll start up a church, and I'll throw a home study. And then I'll throw a home study, and after enough cheesed off Christians from their churches who say, my church sucks, but you know what, this church is going to be a really good church, and you go, yeah, this church is going to be better than your church, man. You should come to this. Then all of a sudden they come to your church, and then what happens? Then they bring their friends who happen to be other cheesed off Christians, and then before you know it, you've got a good collection of cheesed off Christians, and more cheesed off Christians beget more cheesed off Christians. Meanwhile, people are outside still going to hell, and you haven't made the slightest bit of difference. Mega church 10 years down the road, because they eventually turn into mega churches. If you give them enough, 10 years and a little bit of shake and bake, boom, that's what happens. So church planting, what Newbreed does, and we're not, we're small, we're mom and pop, we're nothing big. We start off in Wales. Wales is the most unchurched part of the UK. There is 1% of the population that goes to church there. And I went there years ago, 12 years ago. I'm still in culture shock, by the way. So all you guys are just absolutely freaky to me. Americans, So I'm used to British people, they're a bit more subtle. And of course, I didn't fit in at all there. But the Lord used it. So I went there, and I started off in Port Talbot. Now, some of you guys know Martin Lloyd-Jones. I actually ended up at his church, but I didn't, not on purpose, not because I was like a little wannabe and wanted to go over there. 2 weeks before I was set to move, I got this call from a guy who was pastoring there, and he said, look, so-and-so knows so-and-so who knows so-and-so who knows you, and even though you're a nobody, why don't you come over here and be our evangelist? So I got over to Wales, and I showed up, and I was from Calvary, I was from Refuge Huntington Beach, I was saved here at Costa Mesa, and then got plugged in Huntington Beach. And when they said, do you want to come be the evangelist? I was like, yeah, what does he do? I know that's a stupid question, because you're thinking, well, he shares the gospel. But I hadn't seen a guy who was just called the evangelist. And in Britain, they have that. So I said, well, show me what to do. They said, here's what we do. We throw like evangelistic meals, and we have people talk about how they were really cool, and then they came to know Jesus, and now they're boring. And so I was like, oh, okay, great, So you'd have like a guy who's an MMA fighter, or knew Kung Fu, or was a great rugby player, and now he's just really boring, but he knows Jesus. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Well, those didn't work. Then I said, what else do you do? They said, well, we go door to door. And of course the J-Dubs did that, but Christians did that there too. But it didn't work. Then guys did open-air ministry, open-air preaching. They said, well, we hold this thing where all the old people come out on a Sunday morning, and we do an open-air event, and we preach, and we sing a bunch of hymns, and then we hope that people get saved. And it didn't work. So here I am, and I'm working, and I'm trying to be a good missionary, and I'm trying to be a good sociologist and study the culture and work within and not be Johnny on the spot, John Wayne, Mr. American, listen up, pilgrims, there's a new sheriff in town, listen up, you medieval, heathen savages, this is my boomstick kind of thing. It was like, I'm coming into here and I'm saying, look guys, I don't have a clue what to do, and you guys don't seem to have a clue what to do. And then when I got to the end of myself, and I didn't really have all the goods, and I went over there, I remember 9/11 hit a year after I got there, and my support dropped in half, and I had to go work in a factory. And I was working for Sony. So this is the irony, right? Because I left, 99, and Christians here were, way more spiritual than they are now. And of course, they were talking about the devil box and all that. So I'm sitting on this conveyor belt line, and I'm repairing and fixing devil boxes in a factory in South Wales. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't come halfway around the world to do this. What in the heck? I remember getting a bit cheesed off with God and saying, hey, what gives with this? I left ministry out there. I was full-time on staff. It was fun. It was wonderful. People gave me prezzies, just like Nacho Libre. People screamed my name and gave me goodies. It was wonderful. And I've gone halfway around the world. There's it's like, the backside of beyond. What am I doing here? I'm not even really ministering. Could have been somebody, Johnny. And all of a sudden, in the factory, these guys that I worked with, that I went to church with, started coming alive. They started getting some guts. They thought, well, hey, our evangelist is working over on line 3. If we start sharing the gospel. Now, I had started taking these guys out on Friday nights to pubs and nightclubs. You guys probably don't know what it's like. I guarantee you've never seen anything like this. You can Google Swansea, Wales, Cardiff, Wales on a Friday. Edinburgh would be the same, but Wales is legendary for drinking. They're a bunch of Celts. They're known for fighting and drinking and singing. So you go into a pub on a Friday night, big guys, Reuters, they'll be going like this, getting ready for the fight. I'm not kidding. Seriously. See this scar right here? This one was my own stupid fault. This one was a rugby player, okay? Who put me down in the street and punched the back of my head until I passed out, and I had Dame Brandage. So, I literally, I had a long series of appointments with CAT scans and MRIs, and because I'd pass out suddenly, the guy just beat me almost to death. And that's what they're known for there. A gun-carrying society is a polite society, and they don't have guns. So when I said, hey, I know, we'll try something new. Let's go down to pub and nightclubs. Let's go right where people are at. They were like, all of a sudden, 5 guys turned up to help me. And I thought, man, this is awesome. In this church, they were all like steel workers, and some were big and black belts. And I found out later that the only reason that they came, because, they go on the street and they were like the worst witnessers. I had made this track up about the Matrix. Now, this is back in 99, 2000. And they're going to hand it out. And one guy's like, excuse me, do you happen to like films? And the other guy, the people are going, no, get lost, walking past him. And I'm thinking, dude, this guy's the worst witnesser on the planet. What's he doing out here? Turns out, that guy had been living in condemnation for 10 years because he beat someone up, put someone in the hospital as a Christian when he lost his temper, and had been living under condemnation. God awakened that guy. He was one of the guys who ended up on the factory lines who started bringing people to me on the lunch breaks. The fact is, Wales is just a rough place on a Friday. Dean knows. Friday, Saturday nights, the police every Friday. Dean, raise your hand. You want to hear about Wales? This guy will tell you. But he's right up here. He's so small you can barely notice him. Just look for the mustache. All right, so there's Dean. So I can do that because I'm small. And, he's smaller than me. So, I finally get to pick on someone. But here's the deal. Friday, Saturday nights, the police literally block off the street and they come out in riot gear almost every single Friday, Saturday night in Port Talbot, the town I start off in. And close to that on Saturday nights. In Swansea, which is the next town over. So I went out there, and these guys are like, man, they're just going to kill you. We're just out here to keep you alive. But God started transforming these guys. And I found that although I had done all these other things as the quote-unquote evangelist, nothing happened. But when I got out there, in with people started getting saved.